All right, so today we're looking at Facility Management Foundations, which is the first lesson, first course we have on the FM Mastercraft Diploma. In today's session, I'll just like you to observe a few rules. Make sure you are seated in your desk. We've had this conversation, so it's okay for you to turn off your video. Stay attentive, have a notepad and pen beside you to take notes. At the end of the session, there will be a set of questions in the assessment area that you need to go through. For those who have not met me before, my name is Paul Erubami. I'm the MD of Max-Migold Limited. I founder of this, this training center, and for the last 15 to 20 years, I've been working in building capacity for the FM industry. My experience has taken me, to work in large FM portfolios, both nationally and internationally. In terms of educational background, I started out as an architect from Ambrosella University, a master's in University of Nottingham, industrial engineering and business process engineering, and also certified to all of the international standards. The IWFM, formerly British Institute of Facility Management, the IFMA, International Facility Management Association, ROICS, Chartered Institute of Royal Institution of Chartered Surveyors, and I've had to manage some of the largest FM portfolios, including the Shell portfolio and a few other portfolios across the country. So we've asked that you put your introductions into the group. Some people have not done that. So please, if you are here, you're in the WhatsApp platform, you will see that others have put their introductions in a certain format that has 5 entries: your name, the organization you work, your role in that organization, your years of experience, and your background, your educational background, right? So please, if you've not done that, you can do that right now. What's the objective of today's lesson? We want you to be able to define facility management, give it a context, give it your own meaning. We want you to be able to look at the major classifications, the hard and soft services, decide where you are right now, and gain skills on both sides. We're going to look at the building life cycle briefly and go into the key elements of facility management, which will form the first part, and then we'll now end up with the key strategies to foster operational excellence in facility management. So that's what we're going to be covering in today's session with the outline. So the question is, what is facility management? We want you to, have some kind of basis for discussing that this is a profession. Before now, it's almost like we take care of buildings, right? So people just say we take care of buildings. And if we take care of buildings, then that means we are maintenance people, isn't it? So, but that is very limiting, very, very limiting. So we need to get to a broader, perspective, a bigger scope of what we do. And then we will now narrow it down to the specifics, which include maintenance. And you will find out from this class that maintenance is just a little bit of the things you cover as facility managers. So it's very important that you pay attention to this class. There have been quite a few definitions. The International Facility Management Association defines facility management as a profession that encompasses multiple disciplines to ensure functionality of the built environment by integrating people, place, process, and technology. Some authors have defined facility management as the profession that coordinates and integrates fiscal resources and working space of the organization constantly. That's very one of the oldest definitions. Church Panic also defined FM as the profession that offers, services that supports the core business. And I like this one because everything that is done by every organization can be broken down into 2 categories: the core business and the supporting function. And the supporting function can be authoritatively tagged as facility management doing by this. All right. And from this, you will see that there will be some common threads as you look into the relationship between the various definitions of facility management. But let me share. Okay, so there are quite a few others. The U.S. Congress, in a document released in the late 90s, I think 1998, had a definition for FM to assist in meeting the objectives of the organization by the cost-effective provision and proactive management of spaces and services within the law in such a way as to enable the users to operate safely, efficiently, and effectively. I also like this definition because it tends to give, a wide scope. It kind of bring in as much as possible the certain specifics of the scope of work that you do. But what I like more about it is the emphasis or focus on what we enable users to do. Yeah, we enable users of the building to operate safely, effectively, and efficiently because we provide spaces and services to manage them as well within the law. IWFM, when they were BIFM in 1996, defined facility management as the practice of coordinating the physical workspace with the people and work of an organization, integrating the principles of business administration, architecture, and behavioral and environmental sciences. This definition tends to focus more on the multidisciplinary nature of facility management. That fact that we basically touch all aspects of life, right? And who are we, that come together to provide facility management? We come from different disciplines. We come from different backgrounds, business, architecture, engineering, behavioral sciences, and all. All of this add to what we do. But in 2017, the International Standardization Organization, ISO, came up with this FM standard. There's a series of FM standards, FM 41,000 series, 41,011, 41,012, 41,014 series. In 41,011, which was more of a vocabulary setting standard, FM was defined as an organizational function which integrates people, place, and process within the built environment with the purpose of improving the quality of life of people and the productivity of the core business. For me, this took, the arm, the leg, the head, the eyes, the back, the trunk, and everything of all the other definitions and put them together. It blends the things that FM do, right? Which is we integrate people, place, and process within the built environment. And then it elevates it to add why we do it, right? The purpose of improving the quality of life of people and the productivity of the core business. Why is this a universally accepted definition? Because we have to know the various levels of reasoning, the various levels of everything we do. There is the level of the strategic, which is why we do the things we do. Below that is the level of the tactical, which is what we do. And then below that is the level of the operational. So from strategy to tactical to operational, you are answering the question why, what, and how. This definition gives you a very high level, which is more strategic. The FM integrates people, place, and process within the built environment with the purpose of improving the quality of life and the productivity of the core business. Now, that purpose has a two-pronged reasoning to go with it. First is, I want to focus on the quality of life. So that's where all the health and safety, all the convenience and comfort, all the ergonomy that comes in, all the provisions that solves all the problems that people have in the environment, security, and so on and so forth. I want to make sure that people's quality of life is improved. This is a very high level way of thinking about the job you do. Because when you are being hired, they basically tell you, make sure there's power, make sure that water runs, make sure the place is clean. All that people point you to are things to do for the building, things to do about the building, things to do in the building. There's very little thinking around why you are doing what you are doing. So I want to clean because I've been asked to clean. or because I want to improve the quality of life of people, right? So there are two different things. I can clean and people's quality of life doesn't improve. I've not done any good, I've not added any value. So FM at a strategic level, beyond the boats and not at the bottom, is thinking first at improving the quality of life of people, followed closely by the productivity of the core business. Every organization, whether it's profit or non-profit, is set up for a certain intent. One, there's an audience, there's a customer, there's a segment of the public that the organization is targeting, right? If that organization is productive in its core, it means it is reaching, attracting its audience. Get it? Two, it means that its audience that it attracts and brings in, it is able to retain them and give them pleasant experiences for repeats, engagement, and for loyalty, and for other future activities, right? So, and then the productivity of the core business also means that the organization is not bleeding in the process of delivering this experience. Do you get that? I'm able to draw people in, provide to them what I sold to them, whether it's for profit or not, whatever it is, be able to retain them, be able to keep engaging and satisfying them, give them a good experience, and doing all that and not bleeding out the coffers. Don't doing it at a cost that is prohibitive, that would kick me out of business or out of play in the future. So the FM's role is not, you see, it's very strategic in two key areas. One is the building users, right? But then you also want to think about the productivity of the core business. Now, this is the kicker. If the building users are well improved in their quality of life, their own productivity individually will rise, right? And with that productivity increase, the organization is going to have a ripple effect or a compound benefit from the improvements in the productivity of the building users. So this definition of FM should really sink into our minds so that when you're going to buy diesel, going to buy liquid soap, going to employ a technician, going to buy stationery, going to pay for electricity, whatever you do, think about why you are doing it. And this definition, it really didn't spend too much time talking about the multidisciplinary nature of FM and how we come from different walks of life to come and practice FM. It just focuses on what we do and why we do them. FM has come a long way. Before the late 70s and early 90s, there was almost no mention of FM, facility management, because the entire focus has been on what we call works. So you hear of Department of Works, Ministry of Works. You hear maintenance, mainly done by engineers. So when you have infrastructure or building facilities erected, there are the group who built it that are also expected to be the maintenance crews, the setup, the system for running the maintenance of such places. So that is a focus, an engineering focus on things. By the way, if you go back to that definition we just talked about of FM, you will realize that it wasn't really focused on things, but on people, right? Because everything, every place, every equipment, every asset has a reason for their, being brought in, being deployed, and that's for people, right? So once you understand that, you will realize that for all those years, all those centuries that FM was done with a focus on things, it wasn't called FM. It wasn't called facility management. Now, facility management has been born as a formal profession that encompasses all of the core versus non-core activities in an organization. So the core business. So this is how I normally put it, because there's so many activities. If you take all the things we do, from cleaning to maintenance to the services to the fumigation and all that, and all of the other activities, the clerical work, you know, the procurement that goes into it, IT and deployment. One thing that you should just bear in mind is use that, what I do is a, how would I put it? So I'm going to define the difference between your discipline and your profession, right? Your discipline has to do with the skills you've acquired, the learning and knowledge you've acquired. Your profession is the value you give. The value you give. That's why you can have several disciplines coming together to deliver a profession. So if you hear somebody say, I am in the medical profession, right? In the medical profession, some people have acquired the skills and knowledge of nursing, right? Some have become doctors of different categories, right? All of those skills and knowledge acquired becomes a discipline to them. Discipline is internal, right? Now, when it's time for you to now give a service, that's where your profession comes in. So facility management as a profession is a focus on the non-core activities of organization, right? So let me give you another scenario that's closer home. You're an engineer. You were trained as a mechanical engineer. You're employed in a bottling plant. In the bottling plants, mechanical engineers are needed on the conveyors and the machine operation of the core business. Those engineers who are working, mechanical engineers who are working in the bottling plant, delivering the process flows and the tweaking and operating of that machine, they are not facility managers. But out there, you have another mechanical engineer whose job it is to ensure that water is produced by a borehole, is treated in one system, is stored enough for the bottling plants to have sufficient water. That mechanical engineer is not in bottling. That mechanical engineer is in facility management. So you see the difference. So both of them, they have the same discipline. But outwardly, what they give, one is in the core business, he is in bottling, manufacturing. That's his profession. So if you ask that mechanical engineer, what is your profession? He won't say, my profession is mechanical engineering. No, that's a discipline. I am into manufacturing. If you ask the other mechanical engineer, what is your profession? He won't say my profession is mechanical engineering. He will say my profession is facility management. He's the one that ensures that the site is secured, that power comes in, all transactions are paid, the grounds are cared for, water is supplied, fumigation, all kinds of things are happening because he is doing his job within his profession. So the moment you switch, same discipline, from core to non-core, you have switched from that industry, which is the profession you were in, the core, into another profession called facility management. So this is a broad way to think about it. And if everyone can think about this correctly, you will find out that there are so many people in facility management that are not affiliating facility management, not professionalizing facility management, not anybody of knowledge, not acquiring the right skills and education and qualification as facility managers just because they don't even know that they are facility managers. So let's talk about the key elements of facility management. I've talked a lot about the people elements. That's foundation. I mean, thinking about the ISO definition, people is the core of facility management, right? They are crucial. The job that we do is about managing people. Now, managing people is a bit complex. The era of managing property, equipment, buildings, assets, and ignoring the real implication or impact of those management on people have actually made sure there was no profession called facility management. Now that we're focusing on people, we are beginning to realize that the perception of the individual that we manage. I'm not thinking of perception of the whole. I could manage an estate of 1,000 residents, right? I am personally one FM saddled with responsibility of managing the perception of each person, right? So whether it's in surveys, questionnaires, group meetings where I try to find out their take or input on my service design for them, which I must, of course, let them have buy-in before I deliver, all the way to how I actually serve them on a day-to-day basis, checking to see how satisfied they are with the services I'm providing on an ongoing basis, and coming back to do surveys to get a rating of their final opinion, their impression of how good or bad I was in the service that I delivered for them. Now, I cannot say because they have their free mind to judge me the way they like, or whatever I say, I will not care. You have to care. You have to communicate. You have to start by fully understanding them. So this perception thing, it's so deep that if you train with me and I tell you, if somebody doesn't like you, it's your fault. You know exactly what I'm talking about. If somebody doesn't like you, it is your fault, right? Because you do not manage carefully the person's expectations, then the person's perception that follows those expectations. It goes beyond technical skills. So that era of people plays, people being removed and place and things being the focus is gone, way gone. So FM is more managerial. It is the one profession that from the day you start, you are a manager. I know in most organizations, they will create hierarchy and say, oh, you are an officer, you are a cadet, you are a whatever position, but your position is already management. So FM is management. FM is not a technician's job. If you are still a technician, no matter how much they are paying you, and you want to rise up the ranks, you need to become a facility manager so that you can become a manager. We've talked about the place, the equipment, the things that we manage, the things that we use to serve our people. And then we use a lot of processes, right? From the moment where a facility is conceptualized and built and delivered for use, processes are involved. And therefore, also are going to manage it. We need to design the services that will meet the needs, but first understanding the needs of the people and what processes we are going to deploy to ensure that we can meet their needs. So those processes must be defined carefully. And then there are a lot of inputs, technological inputs into facility management. The building itself are becoming more sophisticated. So we as facility managers also need to now start developing new tools, using new technologies, increase our level of sophistication in managing those environments that we are saddled with the management of. Okay. All right, so let's take a look at this, this broad classification, what we call the FM soft and hard services. If you look at the list of items on the hard services, building and fabric maintenance, both planned and reactive, energy and water management, building management systems, heating, ventilation and air conditioning, mechanical maintenance, electrical maintenance, reactive maintenance, electrical testing, fire alarm maintenance, all of those things, they give you one thing to think about: the building. These things we also call building services because they are built into the building. You manage these particular types of services for the buildings because they are integrated into the building. The other category we call the soft services: cleaning, caretaking and pottering, grounds maintenance, security, waste, catering, pest control, HSC, space management, furniture and equipment. These ones are all services that are provided because of the people that use the space, because of the reasons the people are in that space, because of the things they do within the space, because of what they are trying to achieve within the space. So your scope for soft services is dependent on the type of people type of activities, type of outcomes they expect from that space, right? So we call sub-services occupant services. So broadly, when you hear sub-services, you know it's also called occupant services. When you hear hard services, also called building services. The scope of sub-services 100% depends, on the requirements of the user. I can build a large building, make it open floor, and somebody comes to rent it and use it for a spa, partitions it the way he likes, and put different things inside there. It's still before he comes to do all of that, he's responding to the building. I'll fit in electrical sockets and switches and lights and all that in the building. As part of building services. But when somebody comes in to set up a spa, they need certain modifications, right? And then when they finish doing their activities, they have things they bring out that are different from when it's a bookshop that occupies it, or when it's a restaurant that occupies it. So the sense is the input, process, and output for both hard and soft services are different, because one focuses on people and the other one focuses on the building. They are built up or designed based on what's happening in the building for occupant services. Let's talk about the competencies you will need. In 2009 and again 2019, the International Facility Management Association did a global job task analysis. It's a global survey where people all over the world are surveyed for the job that they do, the skills that they need to do the job, skills that will help them excel at the job, where they see gaps in their careers and their job delivery, and if they identify themselves as FM or not. So based on this, talking with managers, talking with people at the shop floor, talking with all kinds of level of people, employers, and all, IFMA identified 11 core competencies. Okay, so we say these are 11 core competencies because they are very broadly grouped together. There are a few of these 11 competencies that we can call the core of the core competencies, right? What we call the basic competencies to manage facilities. So if you look at this, you have communication, you have emergency preparedness and business continuity, which is now called risk management. You have environmental stewardship and sustainability. You have finance and business. You have human factors, leadership and strategy, operations and maintenance, project management, quality, real estate and property management, and technology, right? Amongst all of these, for you to, at a basic level, be able to function as an FM professional, you need to have leadership and strategy, you need to have operations and maintenance, you need to have project management, and you need to have finance and business. So that's why, if you look at the, in our next lesson on Friday, we'll be talking about some of the international training credential packages that have been done to take you from one level to the other. The FM diploma is all encompassing, so you're going to get a bit of all of this in this program, and may even be ready for the CFM if you take this seriously enough, as we go on. But then I'm going to show you how these competencies are grouped for the basic, and then for the more specialized one, like the sustainability competence, and how the CFM captures all 11 for you to become a certified facility manager and a master of all, as it were. All right, so how do you get your buildings? It starts from a planning stage. The planning stage is where we define why we want to build in the first place. Why do we need it? What is the need? What's the opportunity? What's the problem that we want to solve if we invest in this property? So developers will have this discussion. Financiers, owners will have this discussion. They will get the FM involved, mainly because it's one that identifies, the shortfall or the gap if there's an existing entity or organization that we need to build for, right? That planning takes us to the design, contracting, bill of quantities, and all of those processes that go in there, and then the actual building. From there, we begin to operate, operations, maintenance, use, repair, and all of those reinstallation, improvement that takes place, upgrades, and the rest. And then we'll get to a point where the building has reached its useful life and needs to be disposed of, right? Then at disposal point, we start asking ourselves, the questions we ask at the planning stage, are they still relevant questions? Is there still a need, is there still a problem, is there still an opportunity, right? That will need us to have a solution for. Then we ask ourselves again, the solution we used in the last cycle before this end point, is it still relevant or still valid? Because things could have changed. For example, technology could have changed to the point where a university can be built completely online in the future, where you don't even need to have a single plot of physical land. You probably just have some massive space in the digital world and build the entire university while everybody join in and participate in all activities virtually from some kind of virtual reality, augmented reality approach, right? So if I get to that point and I need to, think about the development, I won't be thinking about brick and mortar. I'll be thinking about the kind of server, the kind of design architecture, everything going on digital, the kind of cloud systems I'm going to deploy, the kind of technology I'm going to use to encrypt and secure all of that activities going on online and so on and so forth. That's basically what I'll be building for at that point. So in essence, the cycle will continue, but the actual output, the actual tangible item that I'm going to use might be changing in nature because of evolving technology from time to time. All right, and as facility managers, we work with this thing we call the service level agreement. We said manage people's perception or understand what they want. And when you understand what they want, lay it down into an agreement that defines what they want and explains what you are going to do to meet what they want, right? And then checks to see that they agree that what you are going to do is going to meet exactly what they want to achieve. And then when you are done, you use that same SLA document to come back and say, have I done what we agreed on? So as facility managers, we must have come across service level agreement, but most of the time for new people in the industry, you come into a new job and the SLA is being prepared by the contractor. You don't have any experience in developing an SLA, right? So we're going to change that for you here in this program. You need to be able to develop service level agreements by yourself. How to define the scope of what is to be done, what specifications to indicate for it. When we get to the procurement class, you learn a lot about those. When we get to the quality class, you know how to put performance metrics and measures, key performance indicators and things to indicate in your SLA so that you will be in charge. You have the vision, you have the idea, you are the ones the customers are talking to about what they want. It is you that should define exactly the relationship with the outside contractor. And that relationship should be based on what you have agreed with your internal users, right? So even if you don't call it a service level agreement for internal users, it's an agreement if you have their expectations defined, laid out in a policy documentation where they explain to you, you get their feedback, they sign up to it to say, if light goes off within 24 hours, you fix. If the AC stops working, you make sure it's fixed within 2 hours. You will ensure that the server doesn't go down for more than 10 minutes or 5 minutes. All those kind of expectations that they have of you will have to be defined inside that document. That document becomes your guiding light and becomes your Bible, your instruction book when you're defining, contract specification for your contractor. So you're not telling contractors to come and clean the house anytime. Whereas your users don't like people disturbing them during certain times of the day, right? You cannot just say because contractors have to work during the day, they have to come at the time when the customers don't want anybody disturbing them. You have to know that the customer doesn't want anybody disturbing them at this time, and make sure you tell the contractor in their own SLA document with you that they shouldn't disturb the customer at this time, so that their own schedule is adjusted accordingly. That's how FMs work. You develop SLA from internal, have an agreement to internal, and then you go outside to implement that agreement. All right, so we're going to take a 5 minutes break now, and then when we'll come back, we're going to look at this strategies to foster operational excellence in facility management. Just sit tight. Can somebody please put this on the chat that we are going on break in case somebody doodled off for a second and didn't hear that we're going on a 5 minute break. Okay. Thank you so much. All right, time to get back in. Can you please confirm that you hear me okay? The screen is still sharing. Anyone?
Yes, sir.
Sure, good.
Yes.
All right.
Okay.
Good.
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you. So let's get to my first strategy for effective facility management operations. The first strategy is you must get your manpower right. There is nothing we do in facility management that does not require that you can do on your own. There's no aspects of our job that is a solo job. No aspect. You can't clean alone, you can't fumigate alone, you can't provide catering alone, you can't do maintenance alone. You, as a manager, are not the hand on the clock, on deck, as I say. You are the brain. You are the one, making things work. You are the coordinator. Okay? So you need to have the right people, the right number of the right people in the right place at the right time, doing the right things for which they are suited, that meets the needs and the goals of the customers and the organization. Okay, so for you to do manpower planning right, you start with that SLA I talked about before, because that is a document that captures everything the customer needs, right? That's the document that captures everything. So you look at that and say, these are the scope items that I must deliver. Once I have looked at the scope items I must deliver, I will now ask myself, what skills in what quantities and quality do I need to fulfill scope item 1, scope item 2? So I'm working from the answer to the question, right? So I'm taking the customer requirement, I'm breaking it down into what it would take. As soon as I'm able to do that, I now ask myself, who are the people I have with me now? I'm not looking at the people I don't have, people I have right now with me in my team to deliver. What are their own skills and competencies? I'll create an inventory of that. Then I will match it, doing a gap analysis and say, okay, fine. So this person can talk a lot to people, can convince people, can help douse tension, and could be the help desk person or the person that does the communication and planning. And this person can write well, can do all the reporting, can do all the documentation. This person is very good hands-on, can be the handyman, can do the coordination of the technical team. I can do all that. If I finish doing all that and I realize that I don't have somebody with a risk management skill, because this customer is in a complex environment, kind of people that I need to serve. There could be risks cropping up here and there. Or I don't have somebody with a health and safety capability to be able to identify hazards and put process in place to prevent occurrence of such negative events, or even being able to proactively identify things that can cause issues and deal with them. So what do I do? Should I take from among those that I already have and train them? Because of course, if it's a skill that I need, a competence that I need, and somebody has something related, is exposed to, I can train him, right, to close that gap and give him that additional task. If it's not something that's possible in that way, I can decide, okay, you know what, let's go and shop for someone else, so that whenever you are employing anybody, the person is fulfilling the requirements to fill a gap in your skills inventory that you have done. What most people try to do is they use their team the way they are, design for their team, and try to shove it down the throat of the customer. So the customer is dumped with people who really don't care, who are saying, this is not my job, I have not done that before, I have not been trained in this area or that area, I can't handle that. The customer is forced to cope, to adjust, to accept whatever you dump on them, right? And then sometimes your scope as a service provider may increase, may decrease. Customers have the full right to change their mind on what they want, how much of it they want, right? And customers, as they grow, you know, as they expand in their own core business operations, will require, you know, services to also ramp up. You as a facility manager need to be able to make future manpower forecasts, both in terms of skills that will be needed and in terms of numbers of that's quality and quantity of your team to meet the future requirements. So it's a case of if I have enough people today and the work increases, will I force them to do all that new work, additional work? Is there something I can do? Can I train them more, incentivize them more? Can I motivate them more to do more work because I don't want to employ more people? Or should I have a steady stream of people to add to the team? Whichever approach you take, you need to have a plan for it. So that's what we'll talk about, making future manpower forecasts, being able to look ahead, look at the trend, use the trend data to create historical forecasts. And then you must ensure that two things are happening to make this possible. Can we please stay muted? Somebody is disturbing this class. Okay, two things must be happening. One, and this is critical, this is something that most people miss out on. You must have an employment program. An employment program is a steady stream of new people available for deployment when the need arises. So you must have access to a pool. Most companies in Nigeria today will send Max-Migold an email to say we need people to fill this position and that position, right? They know we have all the platforms for people we have trained and all that. Oh, we need this, we need that, right? They have identified us as a pool for candidates for trained professionals, right? So you must have that. Professional bodies are also very effective, like AFMPN. We have a database of all the FMs who are associated with AFMPN. And just dropping a vacancy in that platform can lead you, give you access to that pool of candidates. So that's the first point, the pool. The second point is have your vacancies announced, interviews scheduled and conducted, people shortlisted and kept in view as an ongoing activity, not after you have a vacancy. This is where many organizations are failing. So when there's a vacancy, they start a whole process of job description, announcement, selection, and interviewing, and oh God. In the meantime, the customer is bleeding and crying that you're not delivering properly. So you should have people already interviewed, already on standby. So you go back to your database and say, I've interviewed this number of people. You call some up and say, hey, what are you doing? You know, are you available? How much are you earning? What's your location? And so on and so forth. Let's see how you fit into a role that I have, you know, open up soon. You know, that kind of arrangement, having somebody who is dedicated to creating that kind of buzz around the organization will be very effective for your operational excellence. And then the second one is the training program. Too many people hire someone because you did well in the interview, you proved beyond all reasonable doubt that you are good at the job. They don't have any plan to training. They just take you, shove you into the job and say, get going, get the job done. Now, the thing is, what I ordered versus what I got often happens during employment. Because when you go for interviews, what do? You prepare very well. You learn all things, you memorize all things, you just be sharp, you know. You give a very good first impression. The day they lay the job that they want you to do at your table, confusion sets in. If you are the sharp guy, you will quickly go and, you know, brush yourself up, take some lessons, go on YouTube, find some ways, find people to talk to, go to the association, go to your colleagues, go to people you train with, you know, and pick up new ideas and skills. You even go to your mentors and ask questions about how to approach certain challenges. Yes, that's the sharp ones. But there are many who will just sit down and say, that's what you're asking me to do. I've not done it before. I cannot do it. that day you make such a comment or behave in such a way, you give your employer buyer's remorse, recruiter's remorse. It's already feeling sad for making the mistake of hiring you. And I'll have another class to talk about that. That's a big problem for many employees who end up with careers that are warped or deepened eventually because of their attitude, very bad attitude that should not be carried into the workplace. But for the employer, which is the main reason for that particular lesson item, is you need to set up a training program. So when people come in, you need to be able to define, okay, these are our standard operating procedures. Take them through it. These are standard orientation program. This is how things are done. This is how we approach these issues and that issues. These are the step-by-step for doing ABC, right? At least as a basic requirement. Make sure that people understand the organization, its people, their requirements, and how to meet those requirements. Then you can now extend it into additional training areas for self-development, professional development, and other capacity building areas for the organization. So training is very key. Don't assume that the guy promised you he knows everything, and as such, you don't need to improve on him anymore. All right, strategy number 1 was about people strategy, right? Strategy 2 is focused on the customer. You must know your customer. This is so important because many FMs have come out blaming their customer, feeling that their customer is the bad person, right? So you're managing an estate of 1,000 people, and in your mind, everybody loves you. The way you are very cheerful, the way you are responsive, the way you deliver on their issues, the way you are proactive. But there are just these 3 people who just hate you because they are sadists, or because they don't have, joy in their life, or because something, and when you put out something in the open, other people will acknowledge it and thank you. These ones will tell you don't know what you are doing, blah, blah, blah. In your mind, you are convinced that because the majority are on your side, you are good. I'm telling you that's a lie. Your job is to know each customer one by one, and then devise strategies for managing each one by one. What works for 999 of them may not work for one. And if it doesn't work for that one, and you do not make the effort to understand what will work for that one so you can apply it and make it work, you have failed in your duty as a facility manager. So a clear knowledge of who your customer is or are, what are their expectations of service quality attributes, is your basic requirement as a facility manager. And sometimes it may be a little bit complicated. You might confuse who your real customers are, right? So you are working at estate and you provide services, all kinds of services, and every time you need your invoice paid, you send an email to the landlords or the heads of households who are on contracts with you, right? And you don't realize that the family members and the house helps and the people that hang around such homes who want to play video game at the weekend, who wants to sleep and have air conditioning on, who wants to do different activities at different times, may be the ones that will burst your bubble when your service quality is called to question. So if you think that eye service with the boss will save you when the chips are down, you are mistaken. You must know how to categorize your customers, right? Especially those who are gatekeepers, those secretaries, those assistants, those wives of households who are the ones that decide what comes in and what comes. The man will make decision in bell. The man will likely make a decision in your favor, but you didn't know that your gatekeeper is the one that you have offended, the one that you refuse to serve properly. And that's the one that ended up, killing your reputation in that organization or in that environment. All right, so digging deep into this customer strategy, don't ever assume that you understand all of a customer's expectations. First, your understanding of customer expectations should be an ongoing project for you. Customer by customer. Customer by customer. While some customers are just impressed by your timely response to requests, others are happy that you are proactive. You pick up the problem, you deal with it. Some, when they bring issues to you, you are acting quickly on it, say, hey, they'll clap for you. They'll even call you and pray for you and bless you for the good work you are doing, right? Whereas there are some that the moment they see a small problem, that same problem that Mr. B saw, called you, you did it, and they were very happy and they hailed you. Mr. A is angry that you have to make them see it. How irresponsible are you that they have to experience this inconvenience before you can come and do it? They will even insult you and wash you down. In your mind, you have a righteous indignation. Everybody else praises me. This person cannot even call me to tell me this thing is bad so that I can come and fix it the way I normally fix it. This one is angry that you even allowed him or her to notice it in the first place. You think he or she is wrong? Not wrong. You are 100% wrong if you think they are wrong. Because customer A that is happy to tell you there's a problem so you come and fix it and class for you, keep managing that one like that. Customer B that is pissed off to just notice that something is wrong, make sure you do your proactive checks and inspections to ensure that nothing like that happens. Okay. So as an FM, you learn to underpromise and overdeliver. The caveat to this, relationship management strategy is that you must already have a service level agreement which identifies all the customer's expectations. So when you are going to promise, you will not promise below service level minimums. The agreement says that if my AC stops working, you must get me my cooling back in 2 hours, right? So if you want to under-promise, you can tell me that, oh, you make sure you are going to get it done in 2 hours or less. That's the worst thing that the SLA, that's the SLA's minimum requirement, right? So that's what I will promise. I will not promise, oh, is it not this your AC? Don't worry, I'll be done in 10 minutes. Because you just checked it and you said, oh, this might just be a remote battery issue. Once I just get to my office now, I'll just pick up 2 batteries and put it inside this remote and this AC will start working, right? But on your way to that office, somebody bigger than you calls you for something else, or you get distracted and said, oh, you know what? I promised that person 10 minutes, but let me just use 30 minutes for this. After all, it's still within the SLA of 2 hours. You end up coming back in 40 minutes. Mind you, you promise what? 10 minutes. The person who promised 2 hours, which is what the SLA indicates, and arrives 10 minutes before that 2 hours, spends 1 hour and 50 minutes on other things, and comes back and pimping remotes, AC is now working well. The customer will like, thank you so much. You gave me a promise and you did better than the promise. You came 10 minutes early. Yeah, you are very good. Now, the person who promised 10 minutes I'll be back and came back in 40 minutes has created a negative sentiment in the mind of that same customer, right? So you'll find that customer who is happy with 1 hour and 15 minutes being unhappy with 40 minutes for the same request. Why? Because you, the FM, in the one that spent 1 hour, 50 minutes, you under-promised and over-delivered within your SLA. Save 10 minutes, save 30 minutes, super. The other one over-promised and under-delivered, even if it is way within the SLA. So sweet that you delivered it 1 hour, 20 minutes early, compared to the other guy who delivered it just 10 minutes early compared to SLA. You are the one that failed because you didn't apply this one principle, okay? You must keep your integrity and avoid negative perception in your word and action. All those late coming, all those questionable financial deals that happens in FM, get it out of your blood and out of your brain completely, because it doesn't help to foster respect for you as an FM from your customer and from the management. Okay, integrity is the key thing. If you say it, you do whatever it takes to do it. And when it comes to punctuality, really, it is better to be there way earlier than targeting to be there just on time. Because if there's any other unforeseen thing that happens on the way, you will have an excuse to pop up and say, this is the reason I'm late. Okay. Timely degree of work, care, respect, and courtesy. This is the only profession within the organization where care, respect, and courtesy are in the job description. We don't demand respect. We give it. But respect, they say, is reciprocal, right? So if you work with respect and humility, you will get respect and grace and honor from those you serve, okay? So even if you're a manager at the same level as another manager in another department, you are that mother manager's servant. You have to get that into your skull, because that is the only way you can think right in the way you do your job, okay? Respect. And then cost. You must be seen to be cost effective. You must be actively engaged in doing things at the least practicable cost possible in our profession. Customers appreciate that a lot, all right? You must be professional in your outlook and in your action. You are going to meet a customer. The customer is there, telling you some things to do, and you are there with your notes and your pen and you are taking notes. And when the customer finishes talking, you explain to the customer what you have noted, the actions you will take, and the timelines for responding to them. Boy, that is professionalism. You go there dressed for work, not wearing flip-flop and wearing tattered jeans, or ladies wearing a spaghetti arm and say you are going to work as an FM. No, that's not professional, right? In your appearance, in your speech, in the manner with which you do your job, in the processes you deploy, and in your knowledge of the processes that you should use to get it done, you should be professional. And then you must have good housekeeping. Housekeeping has to do with the kind of order you put around your space, your workspace, the kind of order that you put around the work instruction that you give to your team and how things are done. And the fact that you make the place clutter-free and clean. And then attention to detail in program identification, scoping through costing and job completion certification. FNs should not be the ones that we scope a job, go to the market, come back and say, quantities has changed, price has changed. The next day you go again and you do the job to send it, but we couldn't finish it. There's something that is missing. No, there must be a level of detail that comes from planning. Effective planning will take care of this aspect. Customers see you as good at what you do if you can spend enough time in planning what you will do before you actually start doing it. Many FMs will just rush into solutions because they think they have a solution in their head. Customers' need is very urgent. You just jump in and start doing it. At the end of the day, you lose respect because you don't do it right. You come back with excuses. And at the end of the day, it also boils down to, you're not being able to, show that you understand what you're doing before you start doing it. Now, the next strategy. You must know your facilities and the service scope. This one is where you have to have a full detail of all your facilities, starting with your asset register. That's why one of the first things you will need to do in the projects you are going to do is develop a comprehensive asset register. All spaces must be cataloged. All equipment must be cataloged. All different categories of assets must be carefully cataloged in your asset register. You must have a condition assessment of every space, every equipment, every asset, right? So that you know their age, you know the duration level, you know the investment that has gone into them. You see, this knowledge is very powerful, including all of the historical activities that have gone in there, the maintenance that happened there, the cost that has gone into every of those assets. It helps you to bring business cases to management for improvement, for replacement, for upgrades that are justified using data that you have. It helps you to scope properly the kind of work that needs to be done. If equipment are very old, the scope of maintenance are a bit more intense, will require more activity, more frequency, more labor. Can you scope it properly because you know the assets you are managing, or are you just using guesswork to manage the assets? Okay, so Knowing your facility and the service scope is very key. The service scope ties you back to the SLA and the contract that you have in place to manage that facility. Now, standards, specifications and standards. How are things done? You must, if you don't already have them, start developing them. You know, I talked about why, what, and how. This is the level at which you start defining how. If you have a job to service air conditioners, just the mere, outline. What do you do when you want to service AC? Step 1, step 2, step 3. Sitting down with the technician to identify it, write it down, agree on it, and print it out as a document as our way of doing AC servicing. You do that for each key activities one by one, and you're there. Very simple. Very simple, right? Even in personnel quality, what kind of personnel do we get for this kind of role? Starting from job specification, role specification, to know the kind of person that you're trying to get in for the job. So that when you have somebody that transitioning from one role to another, you know what changes you need to make on that person, to fit into this one, because you have a profile for that role. The material standards, tools and equipment, health and safety and environment standards. These are things that you must put in as strategies for effective FM operation. The FM must be proactive, right? Be disciplined and orderly, have planned preventive maintenance, routine inspections, problem solving, identification and reporting, and so many other things. Let me just give you a kind of a primer to what I call the proactive facility manager. There are 5 levels at which you might be operating as facility manager, and you will know, where you belong in these 5 levels. The first one is the proactive FM. The proactive FM plans all activities in maintenance, all activities in inspections, including the operations activities like the opening schedules and closing schedules, security beats, and the rest. Everything is planned, is laid out, and everything works like clockwork. Because you are doing all your inspections on time, you are able to pick up issues that can create problems later, not even now, right? You are able to attend to them now so that they don't become problems later. So there will be no case of door handle falling off, because before the door handle fell off in your previous inspection, you've seen that it was shaky, and then you've created a workaround to screw it back, that kind of thing. And to know that you are at that level, your customers, your users, they don't have anything but praise for you. They don't have any requests to make to you. In fact, if there are certain things around them that are not probably working right, they know you have picked it up because of the way you're antecedent in picking up things in the past. So they won't bother you. So their requests will not be coming to you, because they know that before they even call you to tell you, I've observed something, you tell them you've already picked it up and you're working on it. That's the level of being proactive. Now, to get this right, you're planning for the normal plans, your operations plan, your maintenance plan, and your inspections plan is in place. Then your risk management must be in place. What is risk management? The document that you itemize all the things that can go wrong, even when everything is working perfectly. What are the unforeseen possibilities? When you anticipate something that might go wrong, they hardly happen. And when they do happen, because your plan also includes a mitigation strategy, you have a plan B to respond. So you are still, up there. That's why proactive includes, your normal plan and your abnormal plan, and a system that helps you implement them. So that's where you should be. That's ideal. It's almost utopian and unreal, because it's difficult to be 100% at that level of FM. If you can be at that level, that is where you should aim for. But by standard, I can accommodate somebody who still has 20%, reaction, 20% of requests. So we have a level 2, where out of 10 things that you do, 2 are initiated by customers, still calling you to come and pick things to do. Whereas in level 1, all 10 things you do every day are 100% picked up by you, planned by you, executed by you. Nothing comes from any third party or so, right? But in level 2, which we still accept as normal, it's still within standard, 20%. So that's the 80-20 principle now, right? Customers will still call you once in a while because you can't capture everything and blah, blah, whatever the case is. But we see level 2 as, if you recognize level 2 as a level of failure. You will keep working to reduce those requests to 0 so that you can get to level 1, which is the level of proactive, which is the standard level you should be, perfect level you should be, right? Now, but level 2, it does not end it for many people. Some people are at level 3. What is level 3? Certain requests that was made to you were not done quickly, were not done in the right quality and quantity, were not done to the satisfaction of the customer, and the customer has a reason to come to you to discuss something that at level 1 you did not pick up to do. At level 2, they brought to you to do. And then you are now at level 3 where they are coming to tell you that thing is leaking again, or that thing has failed, or the thing that you did is not what I asked for. The complaint came to you. You're operating at level 3. You should not have any complaints. The customer's complaint should be 0, right? So what you should be doing is, because you are working to move yourself to level 1, you are reducing level 3 to 0, no complaints, yeah? And to get no complaints, you must ensure that you're also reducing your requests to 0, because without requests, you cannot have complaints. But that is not all. Many FMs are operating at level 4. This level is a very dangerous level. It's a level at which you missed proactive pickup of things to do. They came to give you that item to do, level 2, request level. You didn't do it well, or some other complaint made it to come to you at level 3. When they even complained to you, you still didn't respond well or deal with it. It now got to a point where your customers now need to complain to some third party. That third party can be your boss, your colleague, their own boss, their own colleague, their spouses at home, anybody that cares to hear about that complaint. If another ear hears the complaint that they have given to you before, and you still failed in dealing with it, they have moved to level 4, which is the level of escalation. And this level is even more precarious because many FMs are using level 4 deliberately. It's like using Satan's tool to do God's work, where you are telling the customer, look, I understand your problem. We have been discussing it in our office, but you see, my management will not give me the money to do that solution for you. I want to write them. I want to send them a stinker, send them strongly worded letters so that they know that this matter is serious. That is the height of foolishness for any FM. You are destroying not only your organization, but your reputation and yourself as a professional. So you can't use escalation. You shouldn't be in this level at all where a third party is supposed to be discussing about a failure. You have failed at 3 levels. But you may think that that's the worst thing happening to FM when it comes to proactive FM. That's not. Many FMs are the 5th level, which is the crisis level. At this level, the customer has gone from 1 to 4. They are tired of even escalating. They have packed you to one side. They are not interested in talking to you again. They are now providing self-help for themselves. That's, if you are in that level, I'm sure you can relate, where they are beginning to bring their own extension boxes because sockets are burnt. You've not fixed it for months or weeks. They're beginning to bring a gallon of water just in case every now and then water is not flowing in the toilets. They are beginning to bring their own tissue in their bags. They become infrastructure to themselves. Why? Because you have become so irresponsive, almost irresponsible to the point where they don't even want to engage anymore. They will say, why do you even want to call them? Those people don't respond to anybody. They're handicapped. For whatever reason you're operating in that level, whether it is your fault or the fault of the organization or whatever you put in, crisis is crisis. Because there are only 2 sides of the coin, the service giver and the service receiver. If the service receiver is in the crisis mode, resort to self-help, then the service giver has failed woefully. You don't want to be in the crisis mode, okay? All right, and then the FM must maintain good documentation and record keeping, filing plan, know your occupant details, facility plot, asset register, documentation as built drawing. There's such, in this program, you're going to learn the basic documentation you must have in place as an FM, and you must be updating them on a regular basis. And then you must have a means of reporting emergencies, documenting emergencies for root cause analysis, and reporting them to the right authorities. Now, should you have a service disruption, something fails, something doesn't work right, or something you have to plan to put off to fix something, there have to be proper communication, right? So you can use this as a tool, as a guide, because if something fails or you shut something down and you did not communicate first, or you didn't communicate adequately, or you didn't provide enough context to what the customer is experiencing, they will want to reach out to you to understand what's going on. No matter how quickly you can fix something, be even quicker in communicating to them what is going on. What just happened? If you know the reason, indicates potential impacts, who is it affecting, and what will it affect? Indicate the possible causes if you know. If you don't know, say it's being investigated, right? The actions you are taking to resolve it now, whether permanent or temporary, right? The estimated time of completion, if you don't know exactly how long it's going to take, for example, give estimates to say, we don't know how long it's going to take, but I'll give you an update in 2 hours, right? Or in 3 hours, and so on and so forth. So that way, you are keeping your customers notified. When the problem eventually gets resolved, you must also come back to say it is resolved. This is what we experience, this is how we resolve it. This fix is permanent or it's temporary or whatever solution you were able to get for it. You cannot leave the loop open. The loop must be closed. Power went out and you communicated and you can't update, and then power came in and you just felt since people have seen power and lights on, therefore they know that it's been resolved. No, they don't know that it's been resolved. You need to communicate back to say, this is a permanent fix, or this is not a permanent fix, this is a temporary fix, or this is what we experience, and so on. You must close that loop. Give them information of what you are doing to ensure that that does not happen again in the future. HSE, big deal in facility management. I won't even just go into this because this is like the Pandora's box. Facility managers probably don't realize that the lives of people in the facility that you are managing are in your hands. Their well-being, their safety, their security, their health, their wellness, their fitness to do their job, their state of mind. Your job is not just about the place. Your job is so much about the people. In fact, more about the people. The place is only a vehicle in your hands to get the people into the right frame to deliver the right productivity for your organization. Okay? So everything from tools like job safety analysis, the safety data sheet, toolbox meetings, how to plan HSE meetings and all of those HSE related activities. We have a whole class for HSE. In fact, we have several classes. We have the emergency class, we have the HSE class, we have the fire class, we have the, several classes that you go through to really cover the scope for HSE for FM. Suffice it to say that you are responsible for people's safety. The FM job is an inspector's job. I have a rule of thumb for how long an FM should be sitting down for every day's work. Not more than 50% of your time. In fact, if you spend more than 50% of your time sitting down and doing administrative work and looking through vendor quotes and calling up vendors and doing those kind of stuff, you have wasted that day. You should spend more than half of your time up and about on your feet, seeing, one, what your workers are doing. If they know that you will catch them at random times during the day, they will most likely do the right thing. They will not use shortcuts to get things done. Two, engaging with your customers, experiencing and feeling what they are experiencing by yourself. Interacting with them every now and then just to check on them. Create a synergy, create a sense of care. You have a duty of care, but that duty of care is not felt if you sit in your office and wait for the customer to call you that he has a problem. That is the biggest failing proposition FMs have today. One FM was fired from his job, and then he came to complain to me that he was fired unjustly. The auditor was hot and fanning himself, and the MD said, what's the FM doing? The FM said, auditor did not tell him that his AC he stopped working since yesterday or since 2 days ago. And then MD fired him. He came seeking some kind of consolation or solace or justification for his, righteous indignation of how he felt about, this wicked act done to him. And I said, my dear, sorry, your MD did exactly what I would have done. That's the only playbook for your ineptitude. Is the auditor's job description, does it include checking on the AC, making sure he can have comfort cooling? That's not in his job description. It's in yours to make sure the auditor is working well. So you are supposed to check on him daily to find out that he's okay. And if he's not okay, you make sure he's okay. You failed in that. And then in the MD's presence, you were blaming the auditor for setting you up, for not telling that he has a problem. Is that his job? No, that's not his job. It is that backward mentality that has put you in that situation. So sorry, find another job, but you've learned the lesson, I hope, right? So that's how FM should be. Conduct daily routine inspections, be proactive in getting the things that you need done. We call this management by walking around. It is the best practice you can have as an FM. Plus, it also has health benefits. If you wear a step counter and you do less than 10,000 steps in a day, you should try and find a way to improve it as an FM, especially when you are still in the field. And then for those who have gone very high up in management, at least be up and about to at least 5,000, 6,000 steps every day. That way you'll be justifying, the connection between strategy and what's happening in the field. Because if you don't know, whatever you are planning at that level will just be, not making sense. Okay. Maintain effective communication with the customer. You report upwards, you report downwards, you report sideways. So whether it's newsletters, whether it's surveys, whether it's, gather information or questionnaires, you need to always have that continuous engagement with the customer. Highlights of what you are doing, going out to the customer, just the way you report to your management. Always plan to execute. You cannot execute what you've not planned, right? So this is what I talked about, the process. It's important to have standard processes for standard activities. We call those safe work methods. These are the methods we do standard activities. But then you should also now have planning for specific projects and other activities that are not routine in nature. So planning cannot be too much. You can actually spend more time planning. Execution will be a breeze for you. And then work with quality. Have a quality management system. Now, you may not have an ISO certification in your organization. You may not have a quality management system by that standard of professional quality management system. But every facility manager should be able to use what I explained before. SOP, standard operating procedures, where you identify what needs to be done and then how it is done step by step. You discuss it with your team. And that document can be improved from time to time. That's where the continual improvement happens, right? You may have a 9-step process for cleaning an industrial kitchen, for example. And then someone comes in and say, hey, because of the way you are doing this and doing that, you are attracting rats into this kitchen. Can you introduce this step and remove this step? Okay, fine. We debate it and agree. We adjust our process. We refine that process. That's where continual improvement comes in. We keep adjusting what we are doing, but we are always documenting how we are doing it. So if Mark does something today and Martha is coming to do it tomorrow, Martha knows exactly how we did. Mark knows exactly what we did. The output and the outcome will always remain the same. If we want to improve it, we improve the same document together, and then Martha gets a copy and Mark gets a copy, and we all do better because we know the standard way of doing that. Basically, the background of quality. So that when you now start going for ISO certification and deploying larger, higher standards, you already know how to go about it. You already know this is the process, and that process is what you document into those standards. All right, so that's our lesson for today. Facility management as a profession, as well as practices continue to develop to provide management services that meet specific short-term and long-term goals of corporate organizations. So if you implement facility management in your organization, you can deliver productive, humane, and cost-effective work environments, enhance the skills and people within the facility management sector, create career opportunities, and enable new working styles, which is important in this technology-driven world. Yes, so this is the point where I'll expect you to come on screen and make your questions, comments relating to, I hope you've been taking notes because it will help you to be able to respond, appropriately and not ask the kind of question that will show that you have not been listening. I like questions though, so whatever question it is, pop it up, okay? Yes, so let me hear from Tobechukwu. Tobechukwu, can you ask a question, please? Harrison, let's go to you while he's getting ready. Can you unmute? Okay.
I just did that.
Go ahead.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, your idea is good.
Can you hear me?
Harrison, go ahead. Your audio is okay.
Hello? Yes, I'm trying to. It seems I'm.
You are loud and clear. Please go on.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we do.
We can hear you. We can hear you. Go ahead.
Audible enough.
Okay, good evening, class, and good evening, our mentor and MD Max-Migold. My name is Harrison Hayes. I'm a student from Abuja. Although I study estate management and valuation, I'm familiar with some of the things you are sharing with us. I wait for the hard point where I can ask some questions. These are foundation questions I'm familiar with. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Harrison. Well done. Emiko.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Mr. Paul.
Good evening.
Thank you for this. Thank you for the lesson today. Unlike how we said the first time, albeit I've been in related management for over 5 years now. So, okay, well, it's you. I got this message also from my IFMA lecture that I started yesterday. So one of the things you discussed was the position of the facility manager in the organization, the position of the facility of C superiors that make those decisions, and then the facility manager just have to it's more or less like as powerful as what they ask him to do. But that is why I have to show respect and care for our customers in the facility. When you have probably I go for one of these inspections and I see a chair that is damaged and that maybe that chair has been used for over 1 year, of which they were, I think, condition of the chairs were like 1 year. That was given to us was 1 year. Now, after like 1 year plus later, we have an issue where the chair is not raising up or going down. And the head of admin just this policy that everybody should, if the chair damage, the person that uses that chair should just go and repair it. And I'm of the opinion of fighting it and telling the facility manager that this chair has lasted for over 1 year, which is the warranty period. So if anything is happening to this chair now, we should take up the responsibility in fixing it. But that is not the case. That's not what the head of admin wants to hear. And that makes me, according to her, let's say in our own perception, makes me like acting like I'm incapable of handling the job. So meanwhile, so this in our organization we call them our clients. Even these other staff that are in the facility admin, they are our clients, they're people that we must take care of. So these are our clients, they see me as a weapon that is not being reasonable to them, to their what they're going through. While to my own boss, I'm acting incapable. I should take responsibility. There's an extent where I would even be asked, my colleague can be asked, go and check that thing that this guy checked. If it is bad, oh yeah, go and pay for it. It's as simple as that. So what would you advise? How would you advise me to work in such a company and cope and make changes as a manager?
Yes. So your question is a little bit tricky. If you have a boss, you should do everything you can to understand the boss's strategy, their vision, their direction, and do everything you can to align, right? So the boss's boss all the way to the top. You cannot be having opinions that are contrary. So that's the first thing I'll say. Secondly, when your users make requests and you are taking decisions around, what to do at the moment where the request has been made, you have failed at the first level. You are supposed to already have a standard in place. Take the chair thing, for example. Somebody says this chair should serve longer than it's currently serving. And you are saying the chair, if it has served its warranty period of 1 year, should be replaceable. That is confusion that's coming from both you and the other person. There should be a documented asset useful life agreement in the system. If I give you a laptop, warranty is 1 year, but will you bring it back to me broken after 1 year? No, I expect that the laptop should serve with you for 5 years as its useful life, right? So don't go putting a pen in front of the screen and smashing it down and telling me the screen is cracked because it has done 1 year, it has passed through its warranty period. So the companies define what the useful life should be, and that has to be agreed by all parties and documented. So everybody understands the duty of care they have for the assets that they are holding. Same goes for every kind of asset that people have. So that is not something you should be having arguments about. Instead, have a sit down to discuss the standard and develop that standard, have it approved by management so that the answers were already on ground before the questions. What normally causes this kind of confusion is the attempt to answer a question at the point of question, not answering the question proactively in advance and documented. Okay. Tony.
All right. Well done, Mr. Paul, and thanks for the lecture. My question is short and simple. While giving the history of FM, you made mention that when it was established to focus on things or people alone, it wasn't called FM. I would like to know what it was called then.
Works department. That's why our universities still have Department of Works. All the governments in Nigeria still have works ministries. They have maintenance departments. They don't call them FM till today because they are still struggling to change nomenclature, right? Are still struggling to change their focus from works and maintenance.
Okay.
So that's where we are. Yeah.
All right. Thanks. Yeah.
You're welcome. Isaac. Isaac, are you there? Okay. Tobechukwu, your hand is up. Are you able to speak this time?
Sir, I was trying to unmute my.
Okay, Isaac, go ahead.
Okay. You rightly mentioned that in fact, this is sort of an eye-opener to me because a lot of that means there are lots of changes we need to make in the office here. Because you rightly said that as an FM of the company, that our lives, the lives of both the staff and the working customers, their safety, their security, their fitness, state of mind, how to they are in our hands, which means that we are responsible for their safety. So now, a situation where you work in a place where the management, when you raise a bill, before the bill even see the light of day, it will become an issue, whereby maybe the budget office, that's where most of our bills normally stop. On getting to the budget office, they will stop the bill, and something that should take within a few minutes for someone to to sign off, will take like three months, like 3 months in somebody's desk. So in such situation, and let's say for example, the chair that the staff is using, because of age and usage, the chair is no longer good, no longer fit, and it kept on giving the person back pain. Even to the extent it got to the extent that my colleague actually had to go, she wanted to go and doctor's report before her chair is replaced. So in such situation now, yes. So in such situation now, how do we go about this?
Okay.
It's very challenging to an item.
Okay. The foundation is the FM's problem. Let me tell you where the foundation comes from. The FM did not envisage all the expenses in proper budgeting the year before. Most FMs do not capture reactive work in their budgets. You know how much generator maintenance will cost because there's a fixed term contract for it. You know how much cleaning will cost because there's a fixed term contract for it. So you have budget for those, right? But you don't know how much you go into a window that break, how much you go into door handles that fall off, or chairs that the hydraulic stop working or the handle gets broken, right? And you did not budget for them, right? When the time comes, you want the company to suddenly have money to fix reactive work. That is our biggest challenge as FMs, right? So we go back to our understanding of our assets, our asset management strategy, and develop proper operational and capital budget. We have a class where we're going to look into financial management, because that is where we often miss the point. We miss the plot big time when it comes to financial management, right? Because we expect companies to just have money. Yours is going to the budget office and dying there because the budget office does not see any budget head to put that chair replacement. You did not envisage it, you didn't plan for it. And you could easily raise your hand and say, look, did I know some of this chair is going to break? How would I have budgeted for it, right? But that's where your failure starts from. And that has to change. In this class, you will learn how to budget better and plan for that, okay?
Sorry, on the contrary, this we are budgeted for.
Yes, it is budgeted for. Then what then could be the problem? If I budgeted that I have 100 chairs and I'll replace 5 during the year because they will break, right? In my estimate, I put that in my budget. When it's time to do the replacement, I have the budget already. Why would somebody sit on the job?
That's the challenge.
So think about other things. I can give you a few other reasons why that could be happening, but your mission might be specific to other issues. I can tell you one. Some FMs don't know how to time a spend to the cash flow of the organization. If you're in a school, for example, there's what we call the school fees season, where school fees are coming in, right? If you leave your budget expenses out of that season, and then you now want to replace chair when all the school is thinking about this Christmas party in November and December, then sorry, you won't get approval because the time you should have done that thing, you slipped on the wheel. So that's one, your timing. Then secondly, your execution might be faulty. Some of us have our body contractors or vendors where everything we need done is Aluko and Co that we always get a quote from. Everything we need done is always Aluko and Co we get a quote from. When you're always getting a quote from Aluko and Co, everybody begins to suspect your quotation and your involvement, and it now looks as if you are creating issues so that you can you and your bodies out there can milk the company. Once that submission sets in, disapprove, not approve, wait later, go and investigate further, audit, and so they will create all kinds of processes to choke you back because suspicion has already started happening. But if you want to solve that problem, start working your way backwards, start retracing your integrity back to the point where you start disengaging yourself. For example, if things that were broken never ends up with you, for example, For example, if they're even auctioning FM-related junk, don't even auction, don't even participate. Let others win them and take them. If they are asking who knows the vendor, if you know that you have an issue with suspicion or not, don't even recommend any vendor. Let them go and find the vendor. Spend your time focusing on how to specify correctly, right? And ensuring that you get the right quality when the time comes. Don't be involved in the procurement process. You make it neutral. You pass it off. And then when vendors don't do their job right, or don't do it as much as specified, don't be the one to try to sign it off and say, we can manage it, we can accept it like that so that payment can go out. They create suspicion. So those are some of the things that can also kill your approval within the organization. In some of the classes you're going to have in this program, you are going to learn what to do to always get approved. In fact, your success as an FM, your FM career, depends on being approved for every of your ideas, every of your proposals. Okay, so apart from that integrity aspect, then there's competencies. There are things that have to do with what I would call credibility. If they have spent money in the past based on your advice and only to realize that that money was wasted, they'll be careful next time when you bring something to be done. They will not be in a haste to approve. They will be looking for more people who put, just to be sure that even if you are not stealing into your pocket, you are not going to make it a wasted. You know, many people just say, oh, buy this printer, it's a very good printer. We pay 780,000 to buy the printer. 3 days later, you hear that the toner, the ink to replace it after we have used it, you require it's going to cost 2 million to buy. And somebody started asking, so how come you didn't find out that the toner is going to be that expensive when you committed us to buying it? And then you talk it here, talk it there, and then they push it to one side. The next day you come and say, let them buy a certain inverter brand. They will think twice about listening to your recommendation because you've led them astray in the last one that the printer was 780 and the toner was 2 million. You know, so a lot of things can be built into reasons why you get stuck, right? You have to find a way to walk your way back. You have to be the one to define, you know, go back to your root cause. What is causing this kind of friction? If you budgeted for it and the money is there, and the money is there at the time you're asking for it, and you have neutrality, your hands are not involved, the system can run. All you need is quality to get your job done. And, you know, there's no suspicion of integrity issues. Your operation should flow, okay?
Funny enough, with all these things you said, I don't see the reason why it should be keeping all those views.
You need to dig in. You need to dig in. You need to dig in.
Because we have a procurement process that is expected that before we purchase any item, we need to have 3 quotations to have a competitive
who gets those quotes? Who gets those quotes?
From different vendors.
Who gets the quotes? Who knows the vendors? You?
Yeah, you know, we have a standard policy that we have different vendors that do supply.
I know. My question to you is this. Those vendors, yes. Are you the one that recommend the vendors that bring the 3 quotes?
No, we're not. We're not.
Are you involved in the selection of those vendors?
Yes, we are involved in the selection.
Boom. There you go.
When you send a bid out, then you expect vendors to send in their quotations. Then when you get quotations from them, from there you will now select.
I know. My point is, I might not know exactly the specific scenario that's causing your job not to be approved, right? But if you drill down 100%, let's assume you want to replace light bulbs. You want to replace incandescent lights or LED bulbs in a certain location. You tell the procurement people, these are the specification of lights I want, this is the quantity I want. Go find the vendor, you know, bid it out, choose the right one, and bring me the one that can supply me exactly what I need, for example, right? If they are the ones doing all that and you are not involved, there's a high likelihood that it will pass and your job will be done. True or false?
Yes.
What are we saying?
So, well, we are actually dealing with a financial director. So I think it had to do with management on funds, but you still release this bill. That's what baffles me most. You still release it, but you will just be keeping it. Sometimes you go and meet him. Is there any issue with this bill? What happened? Can we know what it is so that you can sort it out? We take a look at it and say,
he
no,
can't
no problem.
explain everything to you. Isaac, he can't explain everything to you. I am an MD and I know what goes on in the heads of the show makers. We have things to do. We have prioritization at every time. The money you want to spend today, I probably have it for you in a month's time. But I can't tell you why I'm not giving you today because I am the one moving things around. You understand? So you may not be able to get into my head to that point. But there's a way. There's a way you will do your job where you will now begin to understand me to the point where you know when not to bring certain things. You understand? You know when not to bring certain things. You start understanding me well enough to know that if I bring it at this time, it will be approved now. If I hold back, so you begin to be tactful, right? Because you are spending your time understanding me and how I think. Yeah.
Yes.
That's very true, sir.
You're right. So everybody have his own leadership style, which we need to be able to Thank you very much.
You're welcome. No problem. You're welcome. Jamil.
Good evening, Mr. Paul. Can you hear me?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So, well, thank you for this. Well, what actually happened, like everybody has said, it's a foundational course, but I must tell you the truth. Despite the fact that like 80 or 90% of what you just taught us today, it's something that I know I do, but I'm trying to crack my head like, are you sure all I've been doing all this while is wrong? But to some extent, I know it has not been wrong. But I just want to ask one quick question. Okay, in my organization, we have these policies that says we categorize our faults like we have minor and major faults, because presently the space we are using is more or less like we have some facility manager that manage the building, but anything that happens within our space, we sort it out, look for external vendor. If it is something that we are going to purchase the material, called one of the technician guys to fix it for us. So the question is, I sat down with my line manager to draw out a process which says the minor faults should be dealt with in 1 hour and the major faults 24 hours. But the question is, the only one that I know I can achieve is when we are talking about replacement of bulbs, because we always purchase bulbs in stock, we always have it in store. But the other ones, which is maybe the door handle, the pedestal wheel, castle or pedestal runners, which it's not cost you, let me say, between 10 to 15,000. We found out that at the end of the day, after getting the approval, after talking to the vendors, slashing the money, look for market price to benchmark what the vendor is giving us. But we still found out that 24 hours is still not getting this job done. One, at times, it might take my supervisor 24 hours to approve. Secondly, the finance process is, before COVID, most of us have petty cash. But since after COVID, everybody was like, there's nothing like petty cash. What you are doing is, so in this kind of situation, that no petty cash, the major faults need to be addressed within 24 hours. What would you advise?
Don't put yourself into a bind like that. You have to work from first principles, work backward to the SLA, right? Use historical data for the last 1 year. How many major work orders have you had, and how many have you achieved? What are the time range for achieving them? That's one. Two, all of those major tasks, list them out. How critical are they to the customers? There are some major tasks that are really critical to the customers. Health, safety, well-being, productivity. So arrange them according to criticality. Then third, engage with the customer to find out what will be manageable by them, right? If you find out that historically 24 hours had not worked, why do you keep it in your rule book? You have to adjust it to 48 hours or 72 hours, right? But then if there are now certain major tasks that cannot be do beyond 24 hours, you now need to revisit the process for delivering them. For example, you have delivered on the bulbs, being able to stock the bulbs. Is there other very critical activity? And to know what, this critical activity has to have a very high frequency, again, number of times it happens, right? So that you can move this activity with a business case to justify stopping, right? So that you're not using the wrong solution to solve a problem, and it's impossible to solve, and then you are stuck with it, right? So you just have to go through this step-by-step process. First, look at your history for all the major jobs and see how many percentage you have actually been fulfilling 24 hours. For those you have not been fulfilling 24 hours, identify what has been causing them. So root cause analysis will help you there. Once you're able to do that, then take each of the root cause analysis and see whether you can address them. For example, what makes a supervisor take 24 hours to approve a major job that should be done in 24 hours, for example? If there are other ways to smoothen that process, like having him able to approve it on his phone, wherever he is, for example, or calling him to discuss it before you push the request through so that you can approve it, make it, sees it and all that. You can think about that as a process improvement to shorten the period of approval. And then what about the vendors? Do they always have it in stock? What's the process of getting them to deliver and getting finance to release funds? You need to map the entire process for each particular job. Don't just leave it as a blanket major and minor. No. If you do major and minor, then you must identify what you put as major and what you put as minor, and then look at how they are being done. Take this as a case to your customers, to your end users, get them to get their buying. So first know whether they can accommodate more than 24 hours or 48 hours for that particular item. So that's a review process. And then when you now see what they can take, you go back again to check it against what you can do or what is common. After you have looked at all the improvements you can do based on the root cause analysis you've done. If it still won't work, you make a process improvement or change to management using a business case. For example, we want to move this particular work from reactive to stocking, so you can have materials on ground for it and have a technician who has the skill to respond to it on standby if we didn't used to have that. So you must tweak your SLA to be reasonable, to be doable, right? Don't box yourself into a corner like you've done, yeah? But let it not be that you are just trying to increase the SLA because of convenience, because you want your supervisor to be able to have 24 hours to approve, and you want to have enough time for the vendor to decide whether to bring it or not to bring it. And so don't let that be convenience for you, right? Let it be your focus is on the customer, okay?
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Everybody has spoken, right? So that'll be it. It's already 7 o'clock. We'll end this class now, and if you have more questions, put them in your WhatsApp.
Please, not everybody, please, not everybody. I have very pressing questions I need answers to, please.
Grace, you didn't even raise your hand. You are telling me you have a question. Now,
I raised my hand. Julius,
hold on. I'll get to you, Julius. Let me hear from Grace. Come to you. Go ahead, Grace. Let me hear from you.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening, Mr. Paul. Like, seriously, you have done a good job. Like, I enjoyed the lecture so far, so good. And my first question, I think Mr. Isaac asked that question. And the way you answered it, it's actually fitting in some extent. Just like what he's still insisting on the question, like he's not still satisfied. So I can understand the kind of company he belongs to. And I think we are almost the same thing, because it's not always easy, but God will help us. So we just have to manage it.
And you will do a lot differently from this class, from this first lesson. You will do a lot differently, the way you approach it, okay?
I hope for that. Thank you very much, sir.
You're welcome.
So my second question, I want to ask if there is an app for operational skills, as in putting our operational skills in schedule, maybe like monthly, daily, just to make work easy. I believe there are accounting apps whereby you just put things on motion, and before you know, you get things done easier
Yes,
than.
there are.
And even when you're not on duty, you can always transfer the responsibility to another person to pick it up, and everything will just go seamlessly. So my question is, did we have any app for that?
So
that we can put.
if I think maybe you can buy software. You can subscribe to software.
Okay. Yeah, like a software. Yeah.
Yes, there are 1,001 software options if you search online, right? But you can start by using Smart Sheets, Google Sheets or Microsoft Sheets. You can put all your tasks in there. You can schedule them with a calendar on that sheet, and you can raise prompts to you and your team members. That's something that FMs have not been looking at. So we always just go and buy apps, pay a lot of money. And maybe don't want to pay money for those apps, right? Because the operation may not be big enough to spend $45,000 investing in an app, or even paying $2 million a month, or even a quarter for a software as a service option, right? So you might need to have some, local solutions like Smart Sheets that can help you automate. So, for example, one of the things you are going to get from me in this program is what I call the FM manual, where I have defined all of the maintenance procedures for every kind of assets, most common assets you have in your facilities. You will need to take the information from that FM manual that you're going to get from me. You're going to try to automate them into activities that will prompt you on the frequency, based on the frequency on the FM manual. So yes, you can start from the spreadsheet. If you know how to use Excel, for example, you can turn an Excel sheet to a Smart Sheet where you set up the schedule, and then you set up configure prompts into it to just prompt you for things that you need to do. I like recommending that as a starting point for technology, not to start investing huge money into it. But beyond that, you can have softwares you can get from local vendors. Even some you can subscribe to online. Just upload your asset register, you define your maintenance procedures, and then the steps can go on from there. There's a class on technology where we're going to talk a lot more on this, Grace.
All right, thank you very much, sir. But can you recommend any software that can be gotten?
The ones I will recommend are the ones I sell. So it has to be a discussion. Chat me up. I'll tell you. I'll send you links to the ones I'm involved in selling.
Oh, all right. That will be fine. There's no problem. So my third question: did we have an asset template that you can share with us from this course?
I will tell the training team to actually just give you your project docket. Your first project is asset register, right? So we can just give you your project docket that contains the templates for all of the 6 projects, so that you can start working on it now. You can even finish it before your course is over. To be a good idea. Good question. Let me see who is in this session.
That would be better. Project. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Mary, you are here. Is Barakat here? Ivana, you are here. So I expect that you'll be able to, discuss and package the project dockets for the team. Let them have it from now. All right. Thank you so much. Julius, final person to speak.
All right.
Go ahead, Julius. Don't tell me that network. I'm not saying
to make sure some people gave it. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay, you just came back on. Go ahead.
I've been here. Okay, so after attending the free training, I made up my mind that I was going to register for a full-time diploma for this, and I thank you for doing justice to everything. So I'm the property manager at where I'm working. But I have a peculiar challenge, and I'm sure you've been giving them solutions, profiling solutions, and I feel that I should be able to ask and I'll get solutions. Like where I work, we have a system. The system is whatever you want to get, because you spoke about specification. That's where my question is going to. We have an internal control, ICU. Whatever you want to get, you list down your specification, go to them. They will source vendors, make their calls, and then ask the vendor to bring whatever you have done. But most of the time, we have issue with them not giving us the specification we need. They always tell us that they got the cheapest price, but the quality and the quantity, the quality and the specification most time is not what we request for. And this has been having issue between our team and the ICU team. So in this case, what do you think we should do?
When you prepare a specification document, attach a checklist. Yes. So if you say you want an AC, right? Yes, yes, and you prepare a specification document, it has to be 2 horsepower, it has to be inverter, it has to be white color, it has to not be more than 36 inches wide and 12 inches high. It must not have a starting current of more than this watts. It must not have a running current of more than this watts. It must not have a voltage fluctuation range, below this range. It must not have, when you finish writing those specifications, sometimes you just write, we want 2 horsepower AC, a white one for the conference room, and you go and give them. If that's all you wrote and you brought, they will go for the cheapest one that meets those 2 specification items. But if you write 18-line item specification and you attach a checklist with those 18-line items so that when they are looking for it in the market, they will have to use their own hand to checklist your specification to be sure that what they are bringing to you meets all of those requirements. They will most likely give you the requirements that you asked for. Most of the failures you have as FM is the fact that we're specifying very scantily. If you specify scantily, they will deliver to you scanty specifications in return.
All right, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
You're welcome. All right, thanks, guys. That's it for this class. See you on Friday. I'm the one taking Friday's class, I'm sure. Have a good evening. Please do your assessment. It's right there. Don't carry it over. Do it now. Okay? Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, sir. Bye-bye. Have a nice night.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Bye.
Thank you, sir. Bye.
Thank you, sir. Bye.
Bye.